Hey everyone, I hope summer's going well for you. Welcome to 2 Minute Tech Live. We're going to do a quick little summer ed tech cleanup here. Hopefully get you cleaned up now that you've had some time to recharge your batteries from that insane end of the school year, and get you ready to start fresh in the fall. Mike, you ready to go?
I'm absolutely. Let's make this happen.
All righty. So let's start by introducing ourselves. Mike, go ahead and you go first.
So my name is Mike Herman. I was a high school science teacher for 23 years. I taught physical science and chemistry. Presently, I am now a technology coach at the middle school level. I had able to become a Google certified trainer this spring during everything that was going on. And I like to think of myself as a jack of all trades. So I can do a lot of things very, very well. And, I'm not complacent by just doing one thing. And for those of you who are watching right now, you can see I'm a hardcore Steelers fan, as evidenced by my jersey and my terrible towels behind me. So, Megan, take it away.
Yeah, I apologize for that poor choice on Mike's behalf there.
Why does everyone say that? When you're a Steelers fan in Philadelphia, people really don't like you too.
Mike and I balance each other out pretty well. Like Mike, I've been a high school social studies teacher for 22 years. I'm also a technology coach. I'm actually Mike's counterpart at the district where we work. I work predominantly with the high school level, and I got my Google certified trainer status this past January. In addition, I continue to serve as department chair for the social studies department. And in my spare time, which there was not a whole lot of this past spring, I have two boys, a 15-year-old and a 12-year-old, and an avid dog lover, except when she hugs the bed at night. That becomes really annoying.
Yeah, well, that's all right. Mine is the exact same way. She's very, very good at doing. She was a dog that was supposed to be 45 pounds and ended up being 65. So
same,
I
right?
I feel your pain. I feel your pain.
Yeah, the shelters. Oh yeah, she'll only be about 40 pounds.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Right. Don't ever believe that. So today we're going to run through a real simple agenda, just taking a look at some of the G Suite platforms that many of you are used to: Google Classroom, Calendar, Gmail, and Drive, and just showing you some cleanup tips for each of these, some of which are necessary at the end of each school year, some of which will just help you feel more organized and rejuvenated come fall. So we're going to start with Google Classroom, and I'm going to take the lead on the Google Classroom one. And I'm not working in my district account, so we have some template classes here, but really the cleanup of Google Classroom is probably the easiest of all of the different platforms. However, many of you may have Google Classroom home screens that are just littered with these little tiles. And the most important thing you can do to help refresh your Google Classroom at the end of a given school year is to archive those classes that you no longer need. So on this screen, I'm looking at 4 class tiles, 3 of which are classes that I would have been the teacher of, one of which was a class that I'm actually a student in. And it looks a little funny here. I'm actually logged into Mike's account. So that's why it looks that I'm the teacher, even though I'm the one speaking about this. But archiving a Google Classroom allows you to continue to be able to access all of the resources in that Google Classroom in future school years. However, it keeps it out of your fresh view, if you will. To archive a classroom, it's very simple. You go to any classroom tile and you select archive the class. It's going to prompt you to make sure you want to do that. And you simply click archive. It is important to note that this is not a permanent solution, in the sense that if you make a mistake and you accidentally archive a class that you didn't need to archive, you can actually recover that class. And I'm going to show you how to do that momentarily. But if this were my Google Classroom home screen from school, I would go through and archive all of those classes from previous school years. You do notice when I'm clicking on these 3 dots, one of the options is to copy a class. I do encourage you to exercise caution when copying a class. It does tend to make a little bit of a mess of your Google Drive. Google actually makes new copies of all of your attachments, which is not necessarily something you want, and something Mike will discuss also when he talks about organizing Google Drive later on in this presentation. However, if you do intend to copy a class, you have to copy the class from the live home screen. You cannot copy a class once it's archived. However, as I said a few moments ago, if you do archive a class and later decide you want to copy it, you can simply unarchive the class, copy it, and then re-archive it. So I'm going to go ahead and archive that class as well. For classes that you are not the teacher of, perhaps you are added as a student to a school-wide class or to a colleague's class, you also have the option to unenroll in that class. So that way, even if the owner of the class has not yet archived it, I can actually leave that class by simply clicking unenroll. And again, it's going to prompt me twice to make sure I really wanted to do that. Once I unenroll from a class, I cannot get back into that class. However, I can get to the classes that I archived simply by clicking the 3 horizontal lines in the upper left corner and going to archived classes. And here you will see all 3 classes that I chose to archive. From that archive, I can choose to restore that class. So if I accidentally archive the class, I can actually put that back up into my live class view if for whatever reason I need to access that class again. Moreover, you do have the option if you are a co-teacher on a class, and in this case, I was the lead teacher of the class and added Mike as a co-teacher. He has the option to leave the class as well. That option, if you created the class initially, you don't have that option, but you do have that option if you were added as the co-teacher. With that being said, once a class is archived, you can still select any assignments from that class when you're creating new posts, when you're reusing posts in future school years. So don't feel as though you need to leave this Google Classroom home screen littered with these class tiles, because you can definitely get that cleaned up at the end of each school year. So that's pretty much it for Classroom. Classroom, like I said, is probably the easiest of these. Does anybody have any questions? Feel free to pop them in the chat before we move on to Google Calendar about how to clean up Google Classroom.
No, so far I don't have any questions as we have.
Okay, so I'm gonna switch over to Mike here and let Mike talk a little bit about how you can clean up Google Calendar.
All right, so we know that calendars can get busy. You can have full of different appointments. You can see that on my screen here, all the different types of calendars that I have. I have my personal calendar. I have all my Google Classroom calendars, and even for the classroom that I have for my school, they're all going to be included on that calendar. Now, a lot of people, what I've seen a lot of people do when they try to clean up their calendar is they just uncheck those boxes. And really, yes, that gets them out of your view, but that doesn't really remove them from the calendar themselves. And especially if you're getting into the new school year and you want to be able to clean it up a little bit, you want to get stuff ready, you want to kind of clean house and get the stuff from the previous year out of there. You know, we want to essentially kind of get rid of these classes and get rid of these appointments. So there's a few ways that I can do it. Probably the easiest way is if I go over here on the left-hand side and I look at my calendars, and if for some reason you don't see those, it might be minimized, as you can see what I just did right here. So all I need to do is just click on the arrow and that'll show all the calendars that I'm subscribed to. All I really need to do is essentially unsubscribe from those calendars or get rid of those calendars. So as I bring up the cursor here and I look at the course, you can see that I have 2 choices here. I have an X box, the little X here, and I have my 3 dots. And these are just giving me different options for that. But since I just want to clean up these calendars and unsubscribe from those calendars, because again, I'm not going to, this is my spring 2020 A period. I don't need to look at that calendar anymore because we're past that semester. All I need to do is just click on that box and it will ask me, okay, are you sure you want to remove that period? And it's saying I no longer have access. And again, since that class is already passed, that's what I want to do. So I'm going to remove that calendar out of here. And again, you'll notice it's been removed from my calendars over here on the other side. The other way that I can do it is if I click on my options for the 3 boxes and I go into settings and sharing. Now, again, remember that what we're trying to do here is we're trying to unsubscribe or get rid of this calendar. We don't want to hide it. So you don't want to, even though we say hide from list, that still means I'm still subscribed to it. I could still receive notifications from it. So I don't want to do that. So I'm going to go into sharings and settings. And then if I scroll down to all the way down here at the bottom, you'll notice now it gives me the option to remove that calendar, that I can unsubscribe from that calendar, or in this case, I can permanently erase it. And that either one of those ways will work. But I'm just going to unsubscribe because, or actually delete, because I'm not in that class anymore. That class is gone, and it'll permanently delete for anyone. So I'm going to click out of that.
Okay. And Mike, to interject as a quick note, if you were added to someone else's Google Classroom or you're a co-teacher, be careful deleting the calendar if the other person still needs it or if the class is active.
Right. Yes. Be very careful with that. Yeah, I would say if you're a co-teacher, I would unsubscribe. If you're the only teacher in there, I would delete it from there as well. So you'll notice some other things that I have here. Now, obviously with my own calendar, I don't want to delete that. That's something that I'm going to use. I would probably just use it, again, just for my classrooms or things that I'm subscribed to. So I'm going to unsubscribe from all of those calendars. But as you'll notice, I still have some of these events in my own personal calendar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of those events. Now, I basically have 2 types of things here. One is an appointment calendar, which is my office calendar or my office hours calendar. So what I can do for that is I can just click on one of those appointments that I have, and it's going to give me this option box. And all I need to do is click on the trash can and delete the event. Now, it's going to ask me how I want to delete that event, if it's just for that day, which is this event, this and following events, or all events. And really what I can do is I just click on all events, and then that will get rid of my office hours for that entire time that I had it set up for. So again, maybe the coming school year, once I'm ready, I'm going to set up some new office hours, but for now, I don't need the ones that are there. Same thing with the lab practicum. I can just click on the event, click on my trash can, click on all events, and that will get rid of that appointment along for that. And even if I just have single events, all I need to do is just delete out that event. So as far as a cleanup, what I highly suggest you do for any Google Classroom calendars or events, maybe you have something for students like IEP meetings or weekly check-ins, I would unsubscribe from those. If it's your own class, you can delete any of those calendars from those Google Classrooms. But when it comes to your own personal calendar, again, going into and looking at the events that we have under your name, and then going through either taking out those appointments or deleting the individual events. So do we have any questions that we can go along with that?
It's been pretty quiet, Mike. Just giving them a chance. I know there's sometimes a delay on.
Yeah, give them a chance to go through here. All right, well, it looks like we don't have any questions. I'm going to pass it off to Megan, and she's going to talk to you about Gmail.
Okay, so those of you who know me know that organizing your Gmail inbox is one of my missions in life. It's also one of the reasons I'm logged into Mike's account right now, because I'm definitely a Gmail inbox zero type girl. So as we were preparing for this, I said to Mike, I'm like, I don't have any emails in my inbox to show them what to do. So I'm logged into Mike's account. So I can show you what to do. Because having an organized Gmail inbox is super important for a number of reasons. primarily to make sure that you aren't missing new incoming emails. As teachers, we get all kinds of emails all the time, some of which are pertinent to us, others of which aren't. So in using Gmail, it's really important, first of all, to understand the difference between archiving and deleting emails, because I've talked with a lot of teachers who are really concerned that if they remove an email from their inbox that they won't be able to find it again. Well, the search feature in Gmail, just by using the search bar up at the top, is super powerful. You can search by recipient, by sender, by whether it has an attachment, by keyword, etc. Therefore, by having a cleaned out inbox, it really just helps to make sure that you're not missing any important emails. The difference between archiving and deleting is simply that deleting an email means that you will not have access to that after the 30-day waiting period that Gmail holds it temporarily in the trash bin. But there are plenty of emails that we all get every day that can be deleted that you are never going to need to look at again. So for instance, if I'm looking at Mike's email inbox here and he has an invitation to co-teach these Google Classrooms that we just talked about, he doesn't need those invitations anymore. He can trash them. He'd already accepted them. And he can do this either from an open Gmail or simply from hovering over the email and seeing the little delete button pop up and simply clicking delete. Archiving is a little bit different in the sense that archiving removes the email from your email inbox, but saves it permanently in your all mail folder. So anytime you do a search in Gmail, those emails that you archived will show up. I always tell people, when in doubt, it's safer to archive than to trash, because it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So save that delete button for the emails that you are certain you won't need again. But, if Mike, for instance, is looking at this email that he just got from YouTube telling us that we're live right now, maybe there's something in there that he'll need to reference later. He could simply archive that. Some of you are looking at Gmail inboxes, however, that have hundreds, if not thousands, if not tens of thousands, which I've certainly seen, of emails.
So mine doesn't seem too bad.
Yours doesn't seem too bad. Although when Mike first was talking to me about his email inbox, he's like, well, I only have 9. I was like, Mike, you have 9 unread emails, because that's what this number over here in the left shows you. The number that shows you your total number is up here at the top where it says 1 through 50 out of. So if that last digit has multiple digits in it, if that's a 3 or 4 or God forbid a 5-digit number, this is a great time over the summer to do some cleanup, especially if you're talking hundreds or thousands of emails. One of the easiest ways to sort through the email is if you hover your mouse over this number in the top right corner, you can sort your email from oldest to newest. Because some of you, when you do that, will look over here in the right-hand corner, or in the right-hand side rather, and you'll start to see emails from like 2018. Pretty certain if they're from 2018, you don't need those. You could literally select that entire column of emails and either archive or delete them all in one fell swoop. So for Mike here, I'm just going to archive them so I don't panic him that his emails are all gone.
Thank you.
Anytime. You can always recover them because they're in your all mail folder and you can find them at any time. Your all mail folder, by the way, is over here on the left side. It's simply called all mail. It's not called archived. I have had some teachers struggle with that in the past. They look for their archive folder. It's called all mail. One of the other things that you can do, though, is Gmail allows you to put your emails into folders. Gmail uses the word label rather than folder. And in the classroom, I was in the classroom before I became a tech coach. I used to have a folder for each one of my courses. So my A period, my B period, my C period, and so forth and so on had a folder. So any emails I got about students in those particular classes went in those folders. You can create new folders either from this over here on the left side where it just says create new label, you can enter a label. You can also nest labels under other labels. So what I want to show you, for instance, is I'm just going to create some labels. I'm going to call one A period. I'm going to create another one and call it B period, and so forth and so on. I could also, however, create a label and call it the 2019-20 school year. So I now have labels that could fit inside another label. And there are a number of ways to reorganize, one of which is to simply edit the label and do what's called nesting the label under another one. So now you notice my A period is nested, or it's kind of a subfolder, if you will. I don't know why Gmail uses different language than the rest of Google, under the 2019-20 school year. So ultimately, one of the things that I always used to do at the end of each school year is I would have my folders from that current school year. At the end of the school year, I'd make a folder for that whole school year and just put all of the labels for that. There you go, Allie. I saw that you asked about labels in Gmail. I put all of the folders or labels from that school year within that school year folder. In fact, I used to then go one step further, and I would have a label just called past school years. And if I went to that, I then had the 2019-20 school year, the 2018-19 school year, and so forth and so on. You can also manage your labels by going through your settings menu. If you click your settings wheel and then click see all settings, one of the options along the top here is your labels. And this is where you can also determine, based on what you click, whether you can see the label in Gmail or not. So if I want to see my spam folder, I can click show. If I want to hide my spam folder, if you look over on the left side as I'm doing this, you notice that it's showing up and it's disappearing. But this is also where I can edit my own labels. I can create new labels in mass. I can edit the labels by moving them and nesting them under other labels. So in many ways, the organization of your Gmail folders will mirror a lot of what Mike, again, will talk about when he gets to Google Drive. But cleaning up that inbox, depending on how overwhelming your inbox is, can seem super overwhelming. The summer is a great time. It's really kind of mindless. Sit down with your laptop or Chromebook while you're watching TV. And if you have thousands and thousands of emails, you can go backwards through them and in a matter of half an hour, kind of clean up that Gmail inbox and get yourself to a point where your emails are more manageable so you can recognize those emails that are coming in. In the same sense, as you're getting emails, and I'm going to try and find an email here, Mike, that would be a good example of this.
Okay.
So let's say this is a spam email, because let's face it, we all get it. You go to a website once, you buy something from somebody once, and now all of a sudden you get incessant emails from them. From an open email, you can actually mark that email as spam by clicking this report spam button. And what that does is it doesn't prevent you from getting the emails, but they'll just come to your spam folder. You will still get them. If you do that accidentally, you can always go back to that email in your spam folder and unmark it as spam, so you do get those emails. However, it's a great way, if you start to get annoyed with some of the emails you're getting, go ahead and mark them as spam, and that way future emails from those particular senders won't clutter up your inbox. Does anybody have any questions about Gmail? I know I could go on and on and on about Gmail, but we want to keep it pretty simple to some end of the year cleanup here.
So the only one that we got was about labels, and I said that Allie predicted the future, because literally right after she asked it, you started talking about it.
She's got a crystal ball out today.
She does. She knows exactly what we're doing.
Excellent. All right. If there are no other questions about Gmail, and if you do have them and you're not thinking of them right now, don't hesitate to pop them in the chat. But I'm going to pop it over to Mike here to talk about Google Drive.
All right. So one of the things that I'm sure a lot of you have when you start having folders and looking at your Google Drive with all of your files is being able to kind of organize them in a fashion where you can be able to find them later down the road. And having some sort of way to organize your files will make it a lot easier for you down the road. So I'm going to talk about some of the tips that I'm going to give you, how to organize your drive, what kind of things like visual cues can you do, and just some general tips on looking at your files and organizing those files in Google Drive. So one of the big things that I really suggest is using folders. And within those folders, you can have folders. So you can essentially have as many folders within one another and just kind of organizing them in a fashion. So the easiest way to create a folder in the drive is if I just go over here on the left-hand side and I click on New and I click on Folder, I'm going to add a new folder. So let's just say I'm going to make this folder for all the files that I had from the previous school year. So I'm going to call this 2019-2020 school year. So I want to, as a tip, I would want to do this every year. So then that way I know exactly where those files are going to be, especially if they're time specific, kind of like what Megan talked about earlier with Gmail. And one of the things that I can do, and you'll notice here, is that it kind of gives me a very generic, just like a dull gray type of folder. Well, you can color code those folders. So all I need to be able to do is if I just highlight that folder that I want and I right click, I can go in here and I can actually change the color of that folder. So I want to say for my school year, I'm going to make that red. So now I have that folder highlighted here in that red color. Same thing down here for classroom. I can right click on that, change that color, and maybe I'll make that green. So that's kind of one of the ways that you can do that, is you can add colors to those folders. Now, also notice when I add the folders down here, that also appears over here on the left side menu under My Drive. And if you don't see that, if you just see what I have here, I can just click on the arrow and that will expand out the My Drive folder. Now, we all know that people love emojis. Well, why not add them as well to your folders? That might be a way that you can also help organize things as well. And one of the ways that I can do that is there's lots of different emoji type of files, or I'm sorry, websites that are out there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stop this here real quick, and I'm going to pop to another tab that I have here. Actually, I'm just going to do it this way just for a moment. And here I went to emojipedia.org. So here is where I can find a lot of different emojis that I might be able to, or that I might want to use for my folders. So since we're talking about a school year here, I'm gonna search for a school emoji, and you'll notice here that kind of gives me that emoji for that school building, and it just gives me an option here so I can copy that emoji. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into my drive here, and when I do so, I can insert that emoji into my file name. So the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to highlight and right click, and I'm going to rename. Now here, this is where I'm going to put that emoji into here. So I'm going to just give myself a space here. I'm going to paste that emoji that's in there. And now you'll notice that I have that emoji in there with my name. So you can kind of customize your folders any way that you would like. Now, another thing that can go along with these folders is adding descriptions. So yes, I have this as my 2019-2020 school year, but let's say I want some more details in there about that folder. This might be something a couple years down the road I might want to know a little bit more about in case I forgot. So what I'm going to do is make sure, again, that folder is highlighted, and I'm going to go up to my info button, or the details button here, and I'm going to click on that. And this is going to give me details about my folder. But if you'll notice down here at the bottom, it gives me an option to add a description to that. So as I said, a couple years down the road, if I'm not sure what that folder might contain, instead of taking the time and digging through there, I can just click on my little pencil here, add a description, and just type in, these are the files used for the 2019-2020 school year. So it's a good way just to, if I can even spell the word school, SCHOOL. Let's do that.
Summer brain, Mike.
Summer brain, absolutely. So there we go. And then, so that's just a good way to have that description. So just being able to kind of go in an organized scheme, just being able to put your folders in there. I highly suggest putting those folders, as I said, by school year. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about here has to do with going back to what Megan talked about, Classroom. So anytime that you start a Google Classroom, it's going to make a folder in your drive called Classroom. So I'm going to go into that Classroom folder, and you'll notice here that I have folders for each of those classrooms. And these are going to be various things that might be assignments or whatever they may be, but really I don't need these anymore. Once we are done with that, I don't need them anymore. So I can go one of two routes, depending on how you like to keep things organized, and if you care if they're there or not. One way would just be to archive them. So maybe what I would do is I would make a new folder, and I'm going to call this 2019-2020 Classroom Archive. And then all I need to do is just take those folders, and I can, let me highlight that again, highlight that, and just click it, and I can just drag it right into that folder. So what it does is it automatically drags that, or automatically placed it into that folder. So if for some reason you want to keep those files, or you want to keep those folders in there, that's one way to do it. Probably the easiest way to do it, and again, this all depends on how you like to organize things, is since I'm not dealing with that class anymore, and that class has passed, is I can just delete it. So all I really need to do is just right click on that, and then go down here to remove. And also notice, I also have the option here to change the colors in these subfolders as well. So it doesn't always have to be the main folder that is colored. It can be any of those folders that are in there. So again, if you have a color scheme, if you have a certain way that you do things, that's a good way to do it. So again, all I just need to do is highlight there, and I just need to remove that folder, and I'm just going to place this one in the Classroom Archive. And I can do it right there. It's going to drag it right in. And now I know that they're going to be there. So later down the road, if for some reason I want to access that folder and look at the archives, I have them in there as well.
Mike, can I just jump in real quick? Just an advantage of archiving them, as Mike's talking about, is if you're ever looking for samples of student work, if you remove them, you run the risk of losing access to them, because Google does delete their trash folder after 90 days in Google Drive. So just something to consider.
And then also moving forward, so then now you have these ways to organize. This is something that when you start having new classes and new folders for the coming school year, now you have a scheme that you have worked out. So you know exactly where to put those files when you're working with them. So let's just say, for example, I was working on a new Google Doc, and I wanted to put that into a folder that I've made. I can just click on the folder here where it says move, and then find the folder that I want to put it in. So then that way it's real easy. If for some reason you don't open that doc automatically within that folder, you opened it from some other place, you can actually, right from the Google Doc or the Google Slides presentation, move it in that application instead of trying to find it in Drive and then dragging it into that folder. You can do it right through the application itself.
Mike, we got a really good question here, and I did answer the chat, but I think it's worth answering.
So was that Allie's question?
Yep.
Okay. And then that's one of the questions is, and a lot of people ask this, especially for those people who have personal Gmail versus school Gmails. In a personal Gmail account, you typically have about 15 gigabytes of space. But if it is a G Suite for Education, so if your school does subscribe to G Suite for Education, you essentially get an unlimited amount. So it's really good. So if you want to store videos that are on there, other things that you would use throughout the years, you don't have to worry about running out of room or paying an extra. I think it's like $1.99 a month to expand your space that go along with it.
Yeah, and Mike, just one other comment about renaming folders.
Mm-hmm.
Don't rename the Google Classroom folder.
Good point.
The creation of that folder is automatically linked to Google Classroom. I've had teachers who have accidentally deleted it, and then as they create new assignments in Google Classroom, their Google Drive becomes a mess because Google doesn't know where to put it.
Right, and they have a whole bunch of you have different classroom folders, and it's going to be very difficult to find what it's going to be. So, are there any other questions that we have so far? We've been getting some really good questions.
No, the biggest question was just about kind of the limits on space for that one, and
okay.
As long as you're in your work account, you're fine.
Right. So, for those of you who are watching, and if you're watching this later down the road, we do have these helpful resources for everything that we talked about, both all Google Classroom, Calendar, Gmail, Google Drive. These are great Google resources for you to find where you can take some of these tips that we've had with that. And and Megan has put the link there in the doc. So that you can look at the presentation that we have today and be able to click on the link and look at some of those resources that we have. But before we go here, who wants a free sticker? I mean, we all know that we love stickers. So here for our presentations for 2 Minute Tech, we do have stickers that we are giving for our viewers. So I'm going to hold it up. We have our first sticker here, which is our circular sticker. We also have our cutout sticker. So just as our thanks for those who have watched, we're going to pick some random people that fill out a Google form that we have, and Megan has posted that in the chat. All you need to do is click on the link and put in your information for that, and we will send you out a sticker. Like I said, we will have we will choose randomly from either our circle sticker or our cutout sticker, and that's something that you can put on your laptop, you can put on your phones, show a little swag, try to get our 2 Minute Tech name out there as well. So we all know we love free stuff, and stickers are even better.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So, well, thank you again, everyone. This was fun. I enjoyed this. How about you, Megan? A little terrifying at first, but hey,
just a little
bit. In this world, we're kind of used to that. So we want to thank everyone for watching. And for those of you who are watching live, I hope you got something out of it. For those of you who are watching this recorded session, we will be having sessions later down the road. We're just not sure right now because of the way the world is changing. But you can find us in a lot of different spaces. You can find us on the web. Our website is www.2minutetech.com. We are also on Twitter at 2minute_tech, and then on Facebook as well as at 2 Minute Tech. So anything else you wanted to add, Megan?
No, we'll be posting on our Twitter and Facebook page. We actually have another presentation coming up on Monday about something called Google Data Studio. So it's a little bit nerdier than this one.
Not a little bit nerdier. It's a lot nerdier.
It makes Mike really happy, though.
Yes.
But that's at 10 o'clock a.m. on Tuesday. So or Monday, I'm sorry. 10 o'clock a.m. this coming Monday. So we'll be advertising that on our Twitter and Facebook page. So feel free to check us out. And, we look forward to seeing you guys at future trainings. And yes, Bob Roach, I see your Canvas. We are definitely going to be doing lots of Canvas in our.
We are. We already have a couple of sessions planned on that.
Yeah. So both through our district and for those of you who are our colleagues, but also we're going to be doing some 2 Minute Tech stuff through Global GEG as well, which is super exciting.
Absolutely exciting. Terrifying and exciting all at the same time.
Yes, absolutely. All righty. Well, have a great day, everyone, and we hope to see you again soon. Yes, thank you, Ellie. Wash your hands.
Yeah.
Stay safe.
And lots of sanitizer. We got the sanitizer.
All right. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.